And welcome back to the program. You are watching the PM edition of Newsfeed here on Newsroom Africa Channel 405. My name is Oliver Dixon. Now, the state of municipalities in South Africa has long been a hot topic, especially when it comes to their financial status, their financial habits, as well as where your money as a ratepayer, taxpayer, and a resident of your local government, where does your money go and how is that money spent? Now, Ntiyiso Consulting released a report looking at the financial habits, the financial patterns, and the financial status of various municipalities, and did a benchmarking exercise with regards to that. Now, today I want to know, what is the status of municipalities today? What should it be? And what does the gap in between that look like? And how do we close that gap? And joining me for this conversation from Ntiyiso Consulting is Mielani. Mielani, thank you so much for joining me, brother.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Yes, thank you.
The last time you and I had a conversation, we were at the budget speech. That was also
absolutely.
the very last time people could go to the budget speech.
Absolutely.
And the municipalities at that budget speech was topical. The minister spoke to that. The AG had just put out a report on the status of municipalities, and your organization went and did a revenue maturity benchmark.
Yes.
Talk to us about what is in this benchmarking report and what in particular you looked at, and then I want us to jump into the details of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us, Oliver. For us, as Ntiyiso Consulting, we've been at it for about 3 years. We've been working in the municipal space for at least the past 10 years, and we have seen a lot of different trends, and hence we have been able to publish something which is a municipal revenue benchmark report. We look at all municipalities. This time we looked at just over 100 municipalities, and we're looking at the state of revenue with regards to whether they are collecting revenue, whether they are able to generate revenue, whether they are utilizing the available sources of revenue, which there are many sources that can be tapped into. So we've summarized the findings according to what we have developed as a benchmarking methodology. And I'll speak about 5 key things that we have found as we unpack the discussion.
Yesterday, one of our reporters here at Newsroom Africa, Tumaule, spoke to one of the MECs in the city of Johannesburg, and they spoke about going on this massive campaign to increase and improve their revenue collection. What is the status of revenue collection in most municipalities across South Africa at the moment? Are they doing well, relatively okay, or terrible at collecting revenue?
So at this stage, I think we are seeing municipalities that are struggling. We take it from the big cities, the likes of City of Joburg, the City of Tshwane, City of Ekurhuleni, and all the different cities. There is pressure on the consumer. So there is not one municipality that can claim at this stage that they are fully on top of the revenue game. We see the districts as well struggling, especially the water authorities, because they have to collect money for water. The locals equally are also struggling. So across the board in terms of local government, there's a huge struggle which municipalities are facing, and purely because the consumer is under pressure, and the trend changes from month to month. Whereas they can win in 1 month, the following month things may change. The state of lockdown has not helped as well, but generally the economic climate has been the one that has pressured consumers not to be able to pay for their rates and taxes and services, as well as for municipalities not to be able to collect that revenue. So there's pressure all across the board.
Let's take a look at some of the municipalities in your report. If we take a look at the Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma local municipality, for instance, their revenue collection rate sits at 123%. But if we look at the Sedibeng district municipality, their collection rate sits at 0%. That is a difference of 123% between 2 municipalities existing in the same country with very similar economic conditions across the country. Why is it that one municipality has such a high collection rate while another has such a low? And for that, I want you to focus not on the consumer, but the efficiencies and the institutional health of municipalities. Are municipalities differently set up in how they operate in ways that determine whether or not they can and cannot collect revenue?
Absolutely. Municipalities are different. And I think you've picked on the one side a local and on the other side a district. And we must also add that there are cities which are super local municipalities, if I may put it in that way. So, for instance, the districts have powers and functions that would allow them to be a water services authority. In other words, they can supply water into locals, but locals would at times collect because they are water service providers. So they would collect on behalf of the districts. That money sometimes does not reach the districts, and so they always have a gap within there. The smaller local municipalities, especially ones that are in the more rural areas, are more dependent on grants. And some of the municipalities, you'll find that they count grants as part of their revenue, which distorts the picture at times. But there are locals as well that you find that they are have more of a base, an economic base, which they can collect from. There's industry, there's business, and various other activity that is generating income or has at least people residing in the area, working, setting up businesses within there. So if you go to Sidibeng, for instance, they're a district municipality, but you find that they have Mfuleni, which is Vanderbijl Park, which is one of the major areas, industrial areas. The steel companies are there, and various other companies that are within there that are working off there. So the differences between the municipalities are crucial, because you'll find locals that are in more rural areas. They don't have an economic base. They are grant dependent. There are other municipalities which are more in the peri-urban areas. They have an economic base, and so their dependency on grants is slightly lower, but they have to now generate revenue themselves. So the two municipalities, and which is a good example to introduce the structure of municipalities. Then you find the cities, because the cities are in your large areas. If you look at the city of Johannesburg, the city of Tshwane, city of Ekurhuleni, those are large areas. City of eThekwini, city of Cape Town, and all the other municipalities, those are large centers that have very strong economic bases that can help the municipalities to at least be able to collect. There's very strong property rates, income, electricity, water, sewer, as well as refuse collection. And other municipalities then go even further and look at things like outdoor advertising. They look at laying broadband. There's also collections from fines and a host of other revenue line items. So what we've looked at in our report is we've looked at how many revenue line items are municipalities able to take advantage of. Your more rural municipalities don't supply water or electricity.
So where do they get water from? So for instance, the city of Joburg has Joburg Water, which is an agency and an entity within the city of Joburg, and they supply water. If we look at Mfuleni or Sidibeng or Rand West City, for instance, which used to be Randfontein and Western area, then got amalgamated, they would, for instance, buy water from Rand Water, which is not a entity that exists within them, but more like a service provider. What happens then to people who don't have an entity like that, who are in rural areas and peri-urban areas?
And the other example, or at least what you're putting forward, the fact that there's a Rand Water becomes a supplier of water to municipalities. Joburg Water becomes an agency that does the reticulation, fixes the pipes, lays the pipes, deals with the leaks, and so on and so forth. But that shows the model of what a municipality is. Municipalities have to go and buy products such as water. They have to go and buy electricity from Eskom. And so it means that they are running like a business. So most of the municipalities and the structure of municipalities, they were designed to operate almost like businesses within the public sector. So that is the structure. But in this case, they need to be able to generate a surplus of some sort. And that is where the revenue question comes in. Because if they are able to collect what they've built, or at least what they've spent to buy whatever products such as water, electricity, or other things that they have to purchase as inputs into the process of producing clean water, into the process of reticulating electricity to the household, buying the meters, making sure that there are receptacles or dustbins that they can be picked up. So municipalities face such a pressure from a revenue point of view, because some have to go and purchase, and then they have to go on sale, and then they have to then collect from various residents, businesses, industry, and so on and so forth. So the pressure that municipalities are under is real, because if you juxtapose that to a business, such as take a filling station, they have to go and purchase fuel, and they have to supply fuel, but at least they are paid at the point of pouring the fuel there. A municipality then has a 30-day window at times. If it's prepaid electricity, better, because they are able to collect much sooner, realize the revenue much sooner. So there's always a lag in the timing of when municipalities can collect revenue. And at times, the consumer after 30 days does not have money to pay the municipalities. That's why we would find the pressure that the municipalities are under. So I spoke about five key things: the capability to generate revenue. Okay.
Very briefly, I do want us to take a break and we will continue the conversation. But in a minute or so, explain to me then what happens when the president goes to the State of the Nation address and empowers municipalities to now produce their own energy up to 1 megawatt, and gives them constitutional leverage to be able to do that. And municipalities are not in good health. Producing their own electricity means they can sell it cheaper, and which means they'll collect easy, but many of them don't have the startup capital to even do that.
So from what we see, those are great instruments that are given to municipalities. Unlike a provincial department, unlike a national department, a municipality has to generate revenue to keep itself going. So, and that goes into the heart of the funding model of municipalities. You'll find that national departments have 45% share of the fiscus, 43% provinces, and about 8 or 9% goes into municipalities. So the other 90%, municipalities must go out and be able to generate the revenue. So it's positive that they're allowed to go and be able to generate electricity. But when we come back, let's talk about the funding. Where are they going to source the funding to be able to achieve the development of whether it's solar farms, whether it's wind energy sources, whether it's waste to energy sources, or any other sources that may allow them to supply electricity?
Yeah, and we'll also have a look at that Municipal Finance Management Act that many municipalities find so difficulty in how they administer the revenue that they have collected. I'm in conversation with Mielani Oleni, who is from Ntiso Consulting. We're taking a look at the financial health and the well-being of municipalities in South Africa and asking the question, what are they spending their money on? Where are they getting their money from? And as a ratepayer, as a taxpayer, and as a resident of a municipality, is your money being well spent? We continue the conversation on the other side of this. Welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are watching the PM edition of Newsfeed here on Newsroom Africa. We're taking a look in this segment at the state of finances in municipalities across South Africa and their revenue collection capabilities and where they can and how can they improve on that. Now, like I said to you earlier on, the city of Johannesburg, Mielani, said they're going to go on this big campaign to collect more. And they want to do more with what they've collected with. How much money and where are municipalities, specifically on their revenue line items, where are they bleeding the most money?
Well, the 5 key services, which we call the big 5 within a municipality, electricity is one, water is the other one. The next one, which is basically a tax for municipalities, is property rates. They also have the collection of waste. They also have sewer. Electricity, because it has to be purchased from Eskom, Eskom needs to be settled within 14 or 30 days of the municipality having purchased and supplied electricity to the end consumer. The other area which we're seeing a lot of losses is in the water, because water has to be carried within the pipes. Some of the pipes or the infrastructure is old, leaking. So what they purchase from someone like Rainwater and what gets to the tap and is counted as supplied to the consumer, sometimes there's a huge gap of millions of liters, megaliters, which have been lost within there. And since you've paid Rainwater to the point where you're collecting from a consumer, is that money has been lost within the system. There's no way and there's no chance of recovering. With electricity, there are illegal connections that people embark on, whether it's to doctor the meters, whether it's to go and bypass the connections and connect directly to the supply, and various other creative ways that we have seen that people are using to be able to steal electricity or illegally connect to electricity sources. So there's bleeding within there.
Or like we've seen with people living in the Kailame area, for instance, in Johannesburg, who have not paid their electricity bills and oftentimes then pay a bribe to an official somewhere to make the bill go away.
And those are the realities of what a municipality or within the system must be dealt with. So if you talk about the value chain of a municipality, and it's something which is crucial, because a value chain of a municipality is starting with a property obviously will be surveyed within the surveyor general. or within an established township and all of that. So if you trace the value chain of a municipality, in our report we speak more about how to maximize revenue from a value chain. So revenue in this case, and it's well and good the city of Johannesburg going out to want to collect revenue, but we need to take cognizance of what a value chain of revenue value chain looks like, and how each one of the components within the revenue value chain must be optimized, must be put into context, and must have the adequate resources to be able to drive the generation of revenue. So we speak about revenue coverage, which I've alluded to. How many sources of revenue does the municipality have and can take advantage of? From those sources, how much of revenue are they generating? And generating revenue means you will raise, for instance, 1,000 rand. Are you collecting 1,000 rand in full, or are there leakages where you end up collecting only 800? We talk about revenue administration, which is the collective capability of running processes, of administering, of pulling all the things together, getting the forms, getting the right addresses, getting the right consumers, and so on. We speak about revenue analytics, the capability to analyze the entire value chain and be able to see where the losses could be, where the advantages could be, where the improvements are. And very lastly, we talk about customer centricity.
Can municipalities raise capital through debt structures?
Absolutely so. If you look at the big metros, City of Cape Town has been in the bond market for a very long time. City of Johannesburg has been in the bond market for a very long time. City of Ekurhuleni, City of Tshwane. The big cities have the capability, because of their large balance sheets, to be able to go out. They are also rated, so their debt at least is they are trusted within the markets, and they enjoy good credit ratings. Where the issues are is if you're talking about a smaller municipality that must go and borrow money, where are the available sources? Commercial banks, the development finance institutions like the DBSA, but even then, they don't have a strong balance sheet. So you can then say municipalities can generate electricity and supply, but where do they find the funds to be able to get a solar farm going? Where do they find the funds to get a wind farm going? And that is where the issue of partnerships that we talk about within our publication, that we need to look at partnerships, because institutional capabilities of municipalities are not just dependent on municipalities. They are dependent on a number of other stakeholders, other players such as your national, your provincial, but also within the intergovernmental relations spectrum. There are also other players within the ESCOM is a player within there. And then you go into the funding institutions that can fund municipalities. So there are a host of various things that need to come together for municipalities to drive a proper revenue machinery.
Should municipalities, cities, and local government entities reimagine how they are structured so that their efficiencies can be optimized? Are they all structured in the best possible way for them to be efficient in how they collect, administer the revenue that they have collected?
The answer is no. Municipalities are not structured optimally. They are not structured properly. And why I say this is we go back to the local government white paper of 1999. There was great imagination of how a municipality then was supposed to look today. But that picture has not materialized. And since that picture has not materialized, it means the municipalities need to rethink what they are, how they service the people, and how they can be able to generate and sustain themselves. And institutional capabilities of municipalities is about the people, making sure that you have the skills.
Let's speak about the people, because if you're going to reconfigure a municipality, many of these municipalities, according to your report, have high staff turnover and incredibly many vacancies. I was shocked that there were thousands of vacancies in municipalities across the country. What's the problem there?
So municipalities are employers. And as you would know, you want to work for the best employer, or you want to work for an employer that will give you opportunities for upward mobility. You want to build a career within there. So vis-a-vis going to work in a municipality in Gauteng or in a city within Gauteng, and going to work in a municipality, my hometown is Giyani, for instance. What are the choices that one has? People are looking for greener pastures, looking for ways and means to grow their careers. So you'll find that municipalities that are out in the outskirts cannot attract the best of skills for engineers, for chartered accountants, for various people that must be within the municipalities. So perhaps the model, and in this case, the cities, will attract everyone else who is qualified and they want to be in the cities. So perhaps the model is that we need to look at different models of how do we then resource a municipality. And what we're talking about, and which is something which is discouraged.
Can I just interject there? Because if we're going to talk about how do we resource a municipality, let's take a look at, for instance, what happens in the city of Johannesburg, where ratepayers and households are receiving incorrect invoices, and they've either been mischarged, overcharged, or they received the invoice of someone who previously lived there, or they're receiving an invoice of someone who's dead, where invoices of dead people are still being issued month after month, and not just in municipalities in Gauteng, but across the country. And so the obvious solution there is, let's see if we can use technology to fix this so that we can have a better tracking system. Let's speak about technological adaptation in municipalities as a resourcing mechanism. Is there movement in that?
So municipalities are still lagging behind. We've also documented it quite significantly within our reports. Municipalities are not taking advantage of technology, and technology can be as simple as a billing engine, or it can be as complex as going for artificial intelligence. But in this case, we talk about in revenue administration particularly, which is the third pillar of our revenue benchmark report, we talk about administration. If you think of processes, every day or every month, meters must be read. The reading from a meter must be captured within the system. The system must produce a bill. The bill must be checked, and so on and so forth. So imagine processes like those that are repeated being automated. And that's the key element where we're talking about technology and the use of technology to be able to automate the mundane. You cannot have, in 2021, a huge billing department full of people that are working manually. You need to look at how you automate processes, and such processes can be automated. In one of the municipalities, specifically City of Ekurhuleni, as Ndiso Consulting, we are able to send people with gadgets to go and capture meter reading that can be sent into the cloud, into the server, that can be received, analyzed and checked, and on the spot can be flagged and a message sent back to the person in the field to say, go and read the meter again, give us the GPS coordinate, give us the reading again, and take a picture of the meter. Perhaps the meter is stuck, so that you can then be able to record it as being stuck. And if the meter is stuck, then a different process is followed. But if it was an erroneous capturing of a reading, it's then corrected within there. So we cannot work in 2021 and in the 21st century at municipalities without adopting the best of what technology has taught us, from taking the basic of things that are done within municipalities all the way up to the complex things. So when we say we must rethink municipalities, from a staffing point of view, we need to think of how we use technology to advance municipalities. And right now with the state of COVID, we are not able to get people in numbers into the municipalities. Why not put up smart teller machines in malls, or taxi ranks, or wherever people can have
high volumes.
Have high volumes. Why don't we put the municipality in an app? Why don't we put bills in apps and so on?
Are there examples of that taking place at the moment, and are they successful?
Absolutely, there are great examples. I received from the municipality that I live in a statement which is on message. I'm able to see that I haven't paid, and some even take it further. You can even pay on the app since you receive the statement. So those examples are happening, but we need to see more and more examples of municipalities advancing and taking on. So this day, if you don't have an accountant, there are systems that can play the role of taking away the mundane tasks that would need many people, so that you can now operate with a smaller complement of people. So the staff rate and the turnover that we're talking about can become something that says municipalities are now leaner, they are now more focused on using technology, and they are now more effective with the task that they have to deliver on a daily basis.
If I am a CFO or a municipal manager or a head of department, perhaps even the mayor or the speaker of the council, how do I reach this benchmarking report? What questions do I go to council and I ask? What questions do I ask in EXCO? What questions do I ask in the MMC meetings the very next time after I've read the report, to ensure that we reach the benchmarking prerequisites of where municipalities should be?
So you can access the report on our website, www.ndisoconsulting.co.za. But the key thing in terms of the questions that you must ask is, we rank municipalities according to 5 categories. There are municipalities that are emerging, there are municipalities that are developing, there are municipalities that are starting to master their game, there are municipalities that have now are innovating at the level that they are at, and there are municipalities that have now taken on and have improved, and their maturity is quite high. So along those different stages, I think a mayor must ask, where is my municipality in the maturity benchmark? And we use simple words at times such as, this one is a darling. And if you're a darling of a municipality, everyone wants to support you. Everyone wants to give you grants. Everyone wants to fund you. If you are a superhero, which is where most municipalities must be, it means you are utilizing all of your available lines of revenue, more than 20 if you have, and so on. So you need to ask, where is my municipality? And there's over 100 municipalities within the report that we've profiled. In this next edition that we are working on this year, we want to cover 150 municipalities until we cover the entire spectrum of all 250 odd municipalities within South Africa, so that each one can be able to say, where am I located in the Ndiso Consulting Revenue Benchmark Maturity Index, so that at least you can then take critical steps. And behind each one of those rankings, it's not just it's methodologies that can move you from one level to the next, and those are critically thought through with various questionnaires.
Yeah.
But not only take questionnaires, but the methodologies can guide a municipality to progress up until they get to superheroes. And it is possible.
Yeah.
We have some municipalities that are at superhero status.
Mayor Lani, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. I look forward to reading the next report, or the next benchmarking report, the 2021 report that would be. And I hope to see that a lot more municipalities take serious these research efforts and take into account some of the data analytics that they can extrapolate out of this. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you very much for having us.
And that was Lani from Ndiso Consulting. We will continue the bulletin after this. We'll take a look at your top stories on the other side of this break. Don't go away.